Hello everyone, welcome to our Test Automation in OutSystems webinar, and let's get started with automation. Okay, uh, uh, we welcome here Sezen de Bruijn, the solution architect from OutSystems that will participate in this webinar too. My name is Tiago Honorato. I'm senior manager for DevOps and automation area in Noesis, and we will talk about test automation in OutSystems. Here is our agenda. So we are going to talk a little bit about accelerating OutSystems apps with test automation. It will be Sezen de Bruijn that will talk a little bit about his team. Then we will do a roundtable talking about the low-code testing challenges, and me and Susan will talk a little bit about low-code testing challenges, and then I will present you NTX. Okay, so I will present you why we created NTX, the functionalities and integrations that we have in NTX. And of course, I will do a live demo, a small live demo with a small example, but you will see it in action. Then we reserved some time to Q&A. For if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A chat. Okay, and then we will close this webinar. So, a small presentation from Noesis, okay, our DNA. We have more than 25 years of experience. Now we are more than 800 consultants in Noesis. We have 7 offices around the world, okay. What can I tell you about Noesis 2? We are the leading quality management service provider in Portugal. Of course, we have a lot of OutSystems Innovation Awards. We are OutSystems partner. Okay, in Noesis we have all of the services that a company, an IT company needs. So we have quality management, DevOps and automation, the part of low-code solutions, the development in OutSystems. We have development in SharePoint and in the other programming languages, the part of the infrastructure of data analytics and artificial intelligence, the enterprise resource planning team, and of course, our company is focused on the people. So they are the base for this to be a success. Regarding OutSystems and Noesis, we have more than 140 certified consultants. We have more than 15 years of partnership, so we are with OutSystems since the beginning. We have 13 innovation awards, and we have more than 40 clients regarding OutSystems developments. Okay, so here you can see that we are growing faster than maybe other companies in this area, and we have a lot of clients regarding these developments. Okay, so now I would like to pass to Susan. Okay, hello Susan, and please feel free to continue. Okay.
Thank you, Tiago.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sezen de Bruijn. I am a solution architect at OutSystems, and I also used to work at in the testing world. So I do have some opinions about this. And I'm going to share you a little bit about quality assurance and test automation with regards to OutSystems. So before we go into all of that, let's start with what is OutSystems. It's very useful to know what OutSystems is before we do test automation. It's going to be very brief. So OutSystems is a low-code development platform, which means that most people, when they think of OutSystems, they think of this part, the full stack development kit. It allows you to build applications and all of the 4 layers in applications in a very nice visual manner. So whether it's data or business processes or even batch processing, logic, user interface, all of these things can be built in OutSystems in a simple and visual way. So that's what most people think about when they think low code. But of course, this is a good second integration. The applications that you build need to be integrated within the landscape that you have. So OutSystems allows you to integrate with anything and everything through APIs, but also directly through the database or using various connectors to get connected to your environment. Well, this part, I could talk to you for hours about it, but it's not really the main focus of today's session. When you have built an application, integrated it within your landscape, of course, the next thing you need to do is to bring it to production. And preferably you would do that in a contained and governed way so that you know for sure that things are going to go well. So OutSystems has a lot of lifecycle capabilities also within the platform, things like a DevOps deployment capability and monitoring. So these are the 3 capabilities that OutSystems basically offers to the average customer. And all of that leads to this: the ability to build web and mobile applications, create services that run, if necessary, headless on a server, and integrate with all kinds of new technologies, whether that's chat, voice, and email, or extend with artificial intelligence. All right, so what OutSystems basically offers customers is to build fast. But we also want you to be able to build it right. So that's going to be the focus of today's talk mostly, which is a rational approach to quality assurance within OutSystems. As OutSystems, we think that there's sort of 3 pillars for doing good quality assurance. The first one is prevention. Anything that you can prevent from going wrong in terms of quality issues is very convenient, right? The second part is monitoring. And the third one is refactoring. That is to say, to fix what's broken. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about all 3 of these pillars in this slide. So first of all, prevention. OutSystems helps you to prevent creating technical invalid code, security issues, and performance issues. The way we do it, it's for us, it's very simple actually, because what we can do is you're building your code with pre-built components that we have created. So we actually know what the code is going to be before you write it. And that allows us to test and validate everything before we actually allow you to build with it. So on the component level, it's already secure and performant and technically valid. Of course, when you combine these components together, you can create new risks, right? If you put an input field directly on the database, you're creating a security risk. So what OutSystems also does is give you warnings when you're combining components in a way that is not very good for your quality, whether it's for security, performance, or technical validity, reasons that you should not make this combination. So we'll give you warnings in the development environment. And preferably a developer will then act upon these warnings and make sure that the situation is being resolved. So that's avoiding getting quality issues. But nevertheless, quality issues will eventually creep in, no matter how good your prevention strategy is. So what we have on top of that is a monitoring capability. And we monitor various things, and I'm going to highlight 2 of them. The first one is monitoring technical debt. So across different components and across different applications, at points you're going to have places where people are ignoring best practices, or maybe are implementing best practices, but new issues occur due to the combination of various applications. So what Architecture Dashboard does, and it's the one that you see here on the right, is it scans your environment, your entire platform, for all occurrences of places where best practices are being violated or where the architecture is not actually being followed, things like that, and flags them so that you can easily act upon them. And also, of course, what we have is, in terms of monitoring, is performance monitoring. Because even if you make completely scalable code, performance issues can still occur, perhaps because you haven't got the right infrastructure underneath it, things like that. So we're also monitoring the performance in production. So with these 2 points of monitoring, you're able to get some information on places where you might need to act and change things to be able to improve the quality of your applications. And that brings us to the third point, refactoring. It's very nice to have the tools to see where things are going wrong. It does not help you at all, however, unless you actually go and do something based on that information. So the way that teams use these types of tools is, for instance, to try an evergreen approach in development, so trying to avoid creating technical debt or performance issues, or having refactoring sprints every once in a while. So try to give your teams the ability to do a good qualitative approach to their applications. So if we've got all of these quality assurance capabilities, should we then still test? And the answer to that is quite simple. Yes, you should still test. So let's talk about why you should still test. The picture that I showed you just before wasn't completely complete, because while we were checking for technical validity, security, and performance, there was one thing that was still missing in it, and that's functional whether the functionality that you built is actually the functionality that you want. So that is where your testing, for instance, fits in. Why are we not doing scans for your functionality test, right? Why are we not doing that for you? Well, that's quite easy. We don't know what you want to build. So we have absolutely no way of checking whether the thing that you've actually built is the thing that you wanted to build all along. So functional tests will always remain something that lies with the people who understand what the goal is behind such a strategy. Now, in order to do that functional validation, what you need is functional tests. And you can do that manually or automated, but you do need to do them. And they fit within our quality assurance approach in 2 areas. The first one is in the prevention part. That is to say, before you actually completely build your code, you want to already know what your test is going to be so that you understand your functionality well. And then once you've built the code, you also want to actually run the test, whether it's manually or automated, to check and validate that you've built the thing that you wanted to build. The second place where it fits in is in the monitoring area, because when you are monitoring in production whether the performance is going well and the technical debt is good, etc., you also want to monitor that you still have all the functionalities that you used to have. So this is where we talk about testing regression sets that come in here. It's basically a way to monitor if your functionalities is still going on. So I already mentioned you can do this manually or automated. Which brings us to our next question. To automate or not to automate? That is the question. And to answer that in general terms, right? There's, of course, a lot of nuance in specific cases, but in general terms, we're going to look at this benchmark study of KPMG. And what they've done is they've compared low code to traditional hand coding. And they've found, and it's a while ago, so these numbers are probably a little bit higher right now, but they found that development goes 2 to 4 times faster in a low-code development environment. And as a result of that, they say your testing should probably also go at least 2 times faster to not become the bottleneck of this process. Then they say, okay, the deployment also goes 2 to 4 times faster. I've already told you about our built-in lifecycle management capabilities, right? You can even extend it with CI/CD, things like that. So you see that the deployment is also going faster. And then also the maintenance is going 2 to 4 times faster. That's to say, Also your change process is going 2 to 4 times faster. So where the need for automated testing comes in my opinion, is first of all, to avoid being the bottleneck here in your test area. So after development, you would like to run some tests to make sure that you haven't actually broken something that you've built before. And that's basically a place where test automation can really make sure that you're not creating a bottleneck there. But the second place where I think a lot of people forget that it's very useful to have a lot of tests available to them is in the maintenance area, because that's where we're going to be creating quick changes to things that need to go to production quickly, because we are currently impacting people, for instance, with issues that we have right now. And then it really starts to become paramount to have a slightly exhaustive test set to be able to quickly validate if we're not breaking anything that's very important to us. So a risk-based regression set here would be very useful. So to summarize what I've talked about, I told you a little bit about OutSystems. Then I told you that within OutSystems, we already have some quality assurance methods in place, right, to help you do well. And that testing still has a place within this methodology, and that is to make sure that we test when we have created the code and basically prevent issues from coming in, but also as part of the monitoring of whether there haven't issues occurred. And then I've told you about automation, that in my opinion, at least some form of test automation is probably going to be very useful. So that was basically my primer to the whole story, and I would like to then hand back to Tiago for a quick discussion on how we're going to actually approach this testing.
Hello again. Let's start with some questions. Okay. Season. I have here the first question. So, in your opinion, how complex is the incorporation of automation in application testing?
Well, I think that question can be answered on various levels, right? And on the technical level, I think the answer is we are starting to get more and more tools to actually incorporate test automation within our life cycle. So that's becoming easier and easier. But I think where the highest amount of complexity in terms of incorporating test automation within your processes is right now is basically in getting the company to make the investment of actually starting to set up the test automation, right? Because people, when they start with low code, they're very enthusiastic. They want to build a lot of stuff, and they start to do so quite fast, usually, very rapidly. And testing is not always then a high priority as they get started. People sort of understand that that's something that's useful and that they need to do that, but they want to focus first on setting things up, and that's very understandable. But I think that it is very important to also start setting up a small amount of risk-based test sets as you go along. And that is something that I often find companies have difficulty getting buy-in from their developers, from their testers, but also from management to set aside some money and some time to actually start building these test sets from the beginning onwards. So I think as part of the complexity, it's not necessarily the technology, it's more the organization, the culture, getting the investment, things like that, that's breaking organizations up. Is that also your experience, Tiago?
Yes, Susan, I agree with you because as you told nowadays this incorporation is easier than some years ago because we have now new type of test automation tools like the NTX that I will show in this webinar that helps the test to create new automation. So we don't need technical people, and it's it's more easier and faster to automate. Okay, of course, the tests to be automated have to be chosen with some criteria in mind, like the repetitive tests, the tests that have multiple data sets, the tests that run on several different hardware or software platforms. Of course, the tests that take a lot of effort and time when manual testing, and the tests, the end-to-end business processes. So these are criteria that we have to have in mind to start automation. And of course, now we have some tools that helps us to create these automations in a faster way. So
yeah, and I think actually to follow up on that, do you think that all organizations are ready to incorporate automation into application testing, or do you think that at some points organizations might not yet be ready to do that?
yeah, I guess in my opinion, organizations are increasingly aware of the benefits of test automation. Okay, because it's a way to shorten the testing phase while increasing the testing coverage. With this type of development platforms like OutSystems, the developments are very fast. So only with manual tests, it's not possible to cover all the tests to ensure the quality of the application. So in my opinion, organizations immediately consider test automation when planning the development of the application. Of course, it's our suggestion. They have to have DevOps and the testing process in place. Okay, so before starting test automation, they have to have this in mind and these processes in place. Okay, where Noesis, of course, can help a lot. And you, Sezen, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is true. I also, on top of that, believe that in some cases, organizations do need to first do some work in their agility mindset, in their organizational structure, their overall maturity, because building tests is one thing, and that already takes some maturity as an organization. But to maintain test sets and to do that in a rational approach and to really understand making valuable tests as well, so tests that really reflect the things that you want to test rather than just generally testing some different aspects, that does require a organizational structure to support that. So if an organization is not ready yet to start it, I think it would be best for them to start building some organizational structures, like you said, before they start actually testing sort of out of the blue without a very rational approach to it.
Perfect. Okay. We have here another. I will share another question in this roundtable. In your opinion, Susan, what are the key aspects to consider when choosing an automated testing tool?
Yeah, to me, it's mostly who's going to do the testing, right? And what are they going to be testing for? And I think these two questions are sort of related. So if your tester is going to be a business acceptance tester, right, then it's a specific type of test that you're building, but also a specific type of user with specific user requirements for a tool. It needs to be not too complex, perhaps, to do this testing. It needs to help people to very conveniently execute the tests. Whereas when we're talking about building maybe more complex chain tests, right, by a specialized test automation engineer, we can come up with a more complex solution that allows that test engineer to do exactly what he needs to do, but also has a much more complex user interface, right? So to me, it really is about a fit for purpose choice in test automation tools, as far as I can see. So what's your experiences with that, Tiago?
Yes, I guess you already told everything. So the main, for me, in my opinion, the key aspects are as you told, the tester profiles that will be using the tool. Okay, so if they know the business, if they are from the business, if they have or not technical background to automate the tests. So this is a key aspect. Who is going to use the tool? The other one, of course, is the integrations that the tool may have with the test management tools, with defect management tools, maybe with CI/CD platforms. So, of course, it's a key aspect. And as you told you to the target technology to automate. So it's only one technology that we will automate. It's only web, it's only mobile, it's both SAP, another technology. So we have to have this in mind to choose the best automated testing tool for us. Okay, so yeah, yes, and I agree with you. Okay, so I guess we can go on. All right, thank you, Sezen. Thank you a lot. So let's start talking about a little bit NTX. Okay, so NTX is a test automation tool. Okay, and as I told you, I will present it and explain you why we created. You can see the integrations that we have, and then of course I will do a small live demo to see NTX in action running in an OutSystems application. Okay, so why we have created NTX? As you know, with these kind of platforms like OutSystems, the developments are really fast. So we can deliver more functionalities in less time, meaning that the software development lifecycle is shorter. However, we have to ensure and to continue to ensure the quality processes. With test automation, we can test a little bit faster, but we weren't happy with the results. Okay, and so it was the cause that we created NTX, but we were not happy, and we had four main issues. Okay, the technical profiles, it was difficult to get technical profiles to automate tests, because normally these kind of profiles are developers, and developers want to create new stuff, new apps, new websites. So it was difficult to get these technical profiles to automate processes, to automate tests. We spent a lot of time with the interactions between the manual test team and the technical test team. Okay, so the manual test team knew about the business and explained to the automated testers what the processes, how they work, and we spent a lot of time in these interactions. Sorry. We spent a lot of time maintaining the test scripts because they were programmed, and we spent a lot of time in the maintenance of the scripts when something changed. And as I told you, we have some difficulties to fit these activities from test automation in the agile development, because we couldn't keep up with the fast developers in these platforms like OutSystems. So what have we done? We created a solution that suits our needs. So we created NTX that is focused on UI and process automation. It's a no-code solution, like OutSystems is a low-code solution. NTX is a no-code solution, so here you don't have to program, allowing non-technical people to automate tests. Okay, it's integrated with test and defect management tools, and it have a very nice feature where you can specify the automated tests even before the software is developed. Of course, it's not magic. You have to have good user stories. You have to have good mockups, and from that mockups in NTX you can create the objects. Okay, and with that objects in NTX you can create your specification. When the application is in quality environment, the only thing you have to do is to associate the real object that it's in the application with the object that you previously created in NTX, and then you have already your specification created. So here you win a lot of time. So technologies. NTX can automate mobile, iOS and Android. It can automate web, all the browsers. We separated here OutSystems applications, web or mobile, because we have a specific algorithm to identify the objects of this kind of platforms. We have here to the integration with the possibility to execute and to automate API testing, or REST requests. Then we can have SAP automation, and we can automate any technology like client desktop, like for example AS400. So in here, as we can't get the ID from the object, what NTX does, it does a screenshot. The user crops the image to the object that he wants to interact to, and then with that object from NTX, he can interact. He can click in the image. He can get text from the image. He can input text in the image. So we have a lot of stuff that can be done. So regarding OutSystems specific algorithm, we had a challenge because, as you probably know, when OutSystems platform generates the application, it generates automatically the objects identifiers. Okay, so we spent a lot of time creating and maintaining test automation scripts if we get, of course, that IDs, if we identified the objects with that IDs. So the solution, we understood how OutSystems platform generates the IDs. We put it in an automatic way in NTX, and NTX creates automatically the best way to identify, the best way possible to identify that OutSystems objects. Okay, so here again, it's not necessary any technical knowledge. You don't have to understand how OutSystems generates those IDs. So it's NTX does everything for you. Okay. So regarding NTX integrations, we have integrations with the X-Ray Jira plugin, server or cloud. So we have both. We have integration with the Zephyr, the test management plugin too, from Jira, Azure DevOps, Micro Focus ALM, and of course Jira. We have another integrations, for example, integration with SOS Labs, a partner of Noesis. So where you can execute NTX tests in several mobile devices, real ones or emulators, or in VMs where you can choose the operating system and the version of the browser that you want to execute the tests. Then we have API testing. You can execute API testing from NTX, and you can, in NTX, select the tests that you want to execute from a pipeline from a CI/CD platform like Jenkins, Azure DevOps, Bamboo from Jira, for example. So it's possible to here in NTX. Okay, so I will do a live demo now. So let's in the share here, and let's start the live demo with NTX. So NTX, as you see, and this is a new version. It's a web page. Okay, so let's enter in NTX. Okay. So what you see here is the main screen of NTX, is where you can create your tests. All right. And then here you have all the functionalities that we have in NTX. So let's go. First one, where you create tests, this is this screen. The second option is the execution. So when you create your test and when you save it in NTX, this test is available for execution. So here is where you execute your test. The scheduler, you can schedule execution. So for example, you want to execute a set of tests in the night, so every day. So you can schedule those type of tasks. Here is one of the main functionalities of NTX that I told you before, is where you identify automatically the objects, where you capture the objects automatically. This is the test templates part. We name it test templates. For example, imagine that you have 100 tests where you do the login process. So this process is a good candidate to be in a test template. If you have this login process in a test template, you can use the template in that 100 test cases, okay? And if something changes in the login process, the only thing you have to do is to update the template, and automatically the 100 test cases that use the login process or the login template, they are automatically updated too. So here you gain a lot of time. And the web service, we create a web service. So you choose here a set of tests that you want to execute, and NTX creates a web service that can be used in your CI/CD pipelines. Okay, so it's a nice feature too. Then you have the configurations of the machines. So you can configure the machines to execute the tests. The devices, you can plug in the device in your computer, or you can execute your tests in Sauce Labs, like I told you. Here are general configurations from NTX. And then you have here the dashboard monitoring, where you can select a set of tests and you can get the availability of your applications and the latency of the requests, okay, that you do. So let's start creating our test. Let me explain here this screen. So here is where we are going to create our tests. You have here the type of test that you want to create. Then you see here an hierarchy: project, version, and test set. So this hierarchy is dependent of the test management tool that you are linked to. In this case, I'm linked with X-Ray, okay, the plugin for Jira server in this case, because we have the integration with Jira Cloud and X-Ray Cloud. So in here, this is the hierarchy from X-Ray. If you were linked to Azure DevOps, here the hierarchy will be different. So let's go. I will choose the project, and this project is from Jira. It's automatically getting from Jira. This version is the version of the software that we are going to test, and it's defined in X-Ray. And here is the test set that where I will put my test. So here you have some functionalities. You have here the record and play. It's a new feature that we have in NTX when you record the interaction between the user and the application. But I'm going to do the test as step by step, so that you can understand how we can build a test in NTX. So what tests will we create now? So I have here an OutSystems application, okay? And the test that we will create, it's a very simple one, because we don't have a lot of time, but you will understand how NTX works. So in this page, we will click in sample users, okay? We will click in this guy, Clark Parsons, all right? In this dashboard screen, I will click in the first order, and then the objective of this test is to verify if this amount is this one. Okay, so a very simple test, but we have here some functionalities. All right, so how can we create this test? All right, so we have here the option of add steps, and when I hit that step, it appears in the specification here automatically, the steps, and the first thing to do is open the browser. So we have here some some keywords. Okay, so we will open the browser with Chrome. Perfect. The second part, the second step is to navigate to that URL. So I will navigate to that URL. Perfect. Then the first thing to do now is to click in the sample users link. Okay. So when I hit click, you see here another hierarchy. So application, page name, and object. Of course, I already identified the objects that I will need in these tests. However, I will show you how we can capture them and use in our test. But when I get the sample users link, for example, I gave it a name, the name of the object. I said that it is associated with a page name, and of course, this page name is associated with an application. Okay, so the application is this OutSystems order management, and then I have here some pages, and then in the login page, I have these two objects. So the object link sample users, the name that I gave to this object, and I said this object is in a login page that is associated with the application that we are testing. So it's a very simple process that I will show you next. So continue our test. I have to click now in the link, the Clark Parsons guy, okay, and then the page is switched to the dashboard of the order. So what I have to do is very simply, I have to click. Not in the login page, because when I capture the link of the first order in that table that you saw, I said that it belongs to the dashboard page. Okay, so I will click on this link, and then I will be in this page where I captured this label, and I will verify if this is the correct amount of this order. So how can I do that in NTX? We have here a very special keyword that's the assert contains text, and I have to choose that label. Okay, when I capture that label, I said that label name label total amount belonging to order page belonging to this application. So this is a model that we use that names page object model, and it's like that when we capture the objects. So I have the assert contains text in these objects, and I will verify if it's this amount in there. So as you can see, it's a very simple test, of course, but we don't have so much time. It's very easy to create a test in NTX. Then here in the specification, you have some functionalities. You can change the order of your steps in drag and drop. You can deactivate the step, you can duplicate it, you can delete it, you can say that you don't want a report in this step. So you have a lot of functionalities here. Now, we have here this button, this is the debugging button, that's for the user to verify if the test is okay with what he expected. So if I hit debugging, okay, let's go. It will open the page. It will click in the things that you want. Okay, and okay. So our specification is okay. So NTX says here that all steps passed. And then, as you can see, in each step you have, for example, here. You have a screenshot automatically. So, but this is, if you hit debugging again, this will be lost because it's not here. NTX is not saving anything in the test management tool. It's just for us to see if the specification is okay or not. So now, okay, our test is perfect. So let's save it, and we have to have here, for example, a name of the test order management 7. So let's save it. Perfect. And now let's execute it. Let's execute our tests. So let's choose the test set. Here you have a lot of tests. We have created the tests OM7. Okay. So let's execute it. And when I execute, it will, of course, open the application and do the stuff that we program NTX to do. But in this case, it is executing and it is saving all the evidences in the test management tool. Okay, so we have here the quick link for this execution. As I told you, it's linked with X-Ray for Jira server in this case. Here you have the evidence that the test passed. Let's go to the execution details. Okay, and here, as you see, you have all the specification that you created in NTX automatically in here. You have here the status of the step, if it passed or not, the evidences, okay, and here the evidence are stored here in your test management tool automatically. Of course, in NTX, you can choose if you want the evidence for every step or just for the steps that fail, or you have a lot of configurations that you can switch in NTX. And then, of course, if you don't want to open all the evidences, here you have a Word that it's created automatically, a Word document, and it's in here, sorry. Okay, where it's created, this report is created automatically. Of course, this is just a sample one. Here you can have the logo of the client. But we have here a lot of information. So the test case name, who executed the test, if the test passed or failed, the date, the machine where it was executed, the execution time, and then per step you have all this information. So how much time the step took, and of course the evidences of each step, the screenshots of each step. So it's a very quick way so that the user can verify what happened in the execution of this test. Okay. Now I would like to show you how can we capture an object. So very simple. You go here to the objects. We select the type of object that you want to capture. Then you hit in add object. So then you choose the machine where we will open the browser. So the browser will open in the application that we selected. Okay, this one. And now we want to select the element. When we hit select element in NTX, you can see where I highlight my mouse, it will appear the blue highlight. So for example, I want to capture about. The only thing I have to do is click in it. Okay, I clicked in about, and I have here this button, the get XPath, and the XPath, or the path to the object, will be created automatically. So now the only thing we have to do is to choose the page where we want to capture, where we want to save the object. I want in the login page. I want to say that this link is the link about, perfect. And I will save this object, okay? The XPath that it was generated, NTX used our algorithm for OutSystems and is not considering the generated identifier for the object, okay? So now how can we use these objects? So as you can see in our repository, these are the objects that are in the login page. Okay, so let's add it in our test, and in a very simple way. So for example, let's click on it. So we have to choose. Sorry, we have to choose the login page, okay, and the link about. Perfect. Let's move this it's the first step after we enter in the URL. So let's start the debugging to see if our test now it's the about link or not. So as you can see, okay, it it appeared and it clicked in the link about, and then he continued the execution. So this is what I wanted to show you. It's a very simple demo, but we didn't have much time. So if you want to see NTX in action in your application, please contact us. Feel free to contact us if you want to do a proof of concept or proof of value. We are, of course, we are happy for do that with you. So please feel free to contact us. Okay. So now I would like to share here, continue our webinar. Okay. And I would like to start here the question, the Q&A part. Okay, so we have here some questions. Okay, and Sezen, the first one is for you, I guess. Okay, so Sezen, we have here Hans Hugevin. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. I'm sorry, Hans. Sezen, are any processes that we could improve in the architect dashboard to help improve quality?
Yeah, I think that the architecture dashboard is probably a very convenient tool to start sort of your analysis on where your quality assurance should go. And some processes that I see customers implement are, for instance, using an evergreen development process where they use the architecture dashboard to monitor that they're not sort of creating technical debt. For instance, by reviewing the architecture dashboard at every stand-up in the morning or at every sprint review, just to make sure that there's a constant quality in that sense. And then on a more organizational level, what I also see happen is that there's somebody checking whether there is on architectural level or on security level or performance level, whether there aren't things happening. Because of course, not all quality issues are limited to one team. Sometimes things sort of go beyond the scope of what one team is doing and collaboration is needed. So it's useful to have somebody look at it at a higher level as well. So I think the next question is probably for you, Tiago, because Bert Leibrand is asking, how do you position NTX compared with BDD and LeapWork? So I think that you probably know that a little bit better than I do.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, when we created NTX, we thought about BDDs and cucumbers and gherkins, and because it's in our opinion, it's a simple way to automate tests. However, our idea was to create something even easier to use. Okay, of course, NTX needs a small training, but in our opinion, in BDD and LeapWork, you have to program the keywords. So of course, then you can use it, and you don't have to have technical knowledge to create your feature file. So, but we wanted to do something different. Okay. Just a nice interface, in our opinion, and now it's even better because the first one is not so great, but now it's very nice, in our opinion again. I guess it's easier, and the tester or the user that is using NTX does not have to think about programming or program new keywords. So we do that for the user. So I guess this is an advantage. And of course, the integrations that we have already created, because if you are using BDD, you can execute the tests, of course, and then you can integrate the executions into test management plugins. But here you have all created once. So it's our opinion, but it's a good question, of course.
I think actually, just to tag onto that in the chat, Roy asked, does OutSystems have abilities to create and execute unit tests? And as part of the question that we've just answered, we talked about BDD framework. So I just wanted to point to Roy towards BDD framework as sort of the unit test solution that comes with OutSystems. We also have a other component on the forge called unit test. Which is a quite obvious name, I think. And there's some differences between the two, but I think that would take a lot of time to explain that right now. But if you want, we can chat about that offline and talk about when to use that and when to also extend with maybe some additional tools, because I don't think just using unit tests would be sufficient probably for most companies. I think also that the next question is probably for you, Tiago.
Yeah.
Is it possible to run multiple tests at the same time, is asked by Peter Johnson.
Yeah, yes, Peter. Yeah, you can. Okay, you can execute the tests in the same browser if you want, in the same machine, and you can parallelize that in several machines too. So the answer is yes. Okay. So I guess the next one is from Hans to, and I guess it's from me, Sezen. It's for me. Is the OutSystems object capture process different from what is used on regular websites? No, the process is the same. Okay, so the process is transparent for the user. If you are automating a website, a regular website, or a website generated by OutSystems platform. Okay, of course, NTX knows if the website is created in OutSystems or not. So, but for the user is transparent. Okay. I guess I have another one here. Peter, can I also use NTX in mobile applications developed in OutSystems? Yes, of course. Okay, so as I told you, NTX can automate mobile tests from an application, a regular mobile application, or an application created by OutSystems platform. Okay, so you can use it. Yes. Okay.
They just keep coming for you, Tiago. So I'm going to read one out for you so that I'm also still involved.
Okay.
She's Misha.
Go for it, Sezen.
I think she's Misha, I'm probably mispronouncing that, is asking, is it possible in NTX to write our custom methods functions /xpaths? That sounds pretty technical.
Sorry, is it no, the expats you can, okay, the expats you can put in there if you want. Okay, it's because of that we show that part, because the users that are not so technical, they are a little bit afraid of that part of that get expat button. Okay, we could put there, for example, get object. Okay, and we could hide that part, but is exactly because of that, because there are some technical users that like to change the expat or put a custom expat, and we, of course, you can. The methods or functions, I guess you are saying the keywords that I show you, like the click, like the open browser, navigate, assert, contains text. The only, I guess, the only keyword that I showed you. No, we have a release, okay, in this product, and in those releases we add more and more keywords that our clients need, of course, for the product. Okay, so it's how we can add functionalities or methods there. Okay.